It's very simple. Now, remember, if you're willing to imagine that you're not going to die and you're stuck here, how long do you think you would tolerate with this kind of mental movement, I will say, of negative thoughts? You'd say, wow, if I'm never getting out of here and I'm never going to cease to exist and I'm never going to transcend where suddenly I am awake, suddenly, not due to any willingness on my part, this is all going to be over, you'll be less tolerant. You'll get down to the business of saying, shut up. The imposter is telling you lies. And the presence of an imposter telling you lies is a lie in itself. It's an untruth in itself. It's ignorance personified, if I may put it that way. But remember that ignorance is simply an absence of something, isn't it? It's not a presence at all. Now, I've got all the material I need to work with you. And what you divinely are is all the material you need in order to make a different choice and have a different experience. So tell it to shut up. And remember that when you say shut up, it can't retaliate, because the thing you're saying shut up to is an imposter, a non-existent suggestion of a presence, you see, that you're not called upon to believe in, and that you're foolish to believe in. You persist. Persist, persist, persist. And remember that a suggestion of presence, called an imposter, has no capacity to accomplish anything with you. The imposter, being nothing real but ignorance, makes suggestions that are untrue, have no basis in fact, and are not backed up by the life force, God, and therefore cannot compel you, cannot punish you, cannot cause you to become something that you really aren't, and cannot retaliate against your refusal to listen to it, or acknowledge it, or be moved by it. You know, if you really thought you couldn't leave, you'd finally ask yourself the question, am I going to be happy or am I going to be unhappy? And you'd make the choice and let the chips fall where they may. And the dream would be over. But no, there's a suggestion that there's time for the games to continue. Time for the tension and the release, and the trials and the successes to repeat themselves and seem to make things interesting. Well, if you knew there was no escape from them, you'd get sober right away. And you'd decide whether you want to be happy or unhappy, and you would make a decision for happiness, and come hell or high water, you would be happy. And in that decision, the hell part of the hell or high water would vanish. It would. Okay.
The next question is from Connie. 2 little questions today. Am I handling the family conflict regarding Jason's healing badly? And what energy am I feeling when I'm wakened with fear pumping out of my chest, or when it washes over me during the daytime? Many thanks and much love.
Yes, you're handling things very well regarding Jason. Sometimes the fear that washes over you is not yours at all. And sometimes it is. I mean, sometimes the fear stems from your unfamiliarity with standing unalterably, unswervingly with the integrity of your being. You're not familiar with that. It seems to you to be arrogant at times, or to be a position that you don't have the strength to uphold because it's not natural to you. But I'm telling you that it's utterly natural to you, and the practice you're getting at it is, for lack of better words, strengthening the experience of it in you, which will cause the fear that sweeps over you because it seems unfamiliar to lessen. Now, at other times, you're picking up on Jason's fear, and at times you're picking up on your husband's fear. But these are things they must deal with themselves. Jason's fear is that he will not have anyone else to blame for his condition, his experience, or his circumstances. And yet he must come into a full realization that no one else is causing this for him. It's his own ignorance and his own unwillingness to feel into his own integrity and his own capacity to embody that integrity. He's afraid, as everyone is, that if he looks deeply inside, he's not going to find integrity there. He's going to find an utter lack of it, and that will be, or shall I say, that will sign, seal, and deliver him into an unavoidable and unchangeable hell. And it's not the truth. But this is his work to do. Just as yours relative to your fear is your work to do and no one else's. And your practice of leaning into and standing with your integrity is exactly what he will need to do for himself. I will put it this way. Overall, everything in the circumstances in your family are embodying more health now than it has in the past. Okay. We are going to take a short break. Okay. Before we go on to the next question, I want to come back to this idea that I want everyone to contemplate, and that is the idea of not dying. If you knew you weren't going to be able to get out of here, you would very rapidly have to come to the conclusion that waking up, whatever those words mean, that waking up is going to have something to do with everything you're currently experiencing. You all say, well, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but the fact is that, everybody does die. You know what? Not any of you can give personal proof of it. You observe other people disappearing out of your experience, but dying is not an experience any of you have had, even if you've had past lives, because you have always had an uninterruptible, conscious experience of being. Now, what about those people who have disappeared out of your experience that seem to prove to you that there is such a thing as death? Well, you know what? They didn't shift to a place where it's easier to wake up or where they're not in the middle of creation. They're either still not seeing the kingdom of heaven for what it is, or they are. You have no other choices. Either right now you are seeing the kingdom of heaven for what it is, or you're not. And that's the only option you're ever going to be faced with. So, it's of great value to stop thinking in terms of terminal life. And that the termination of it is going to provide you with an option that you don't have right now. It doesn't provide you with an option for anything. Okay? So, let's give up the labor of awakening, the struggle of awakening, the stress of coping with the human condition, and start actively, enthusiastically looking at the human condition with the recognition that it's nothing more than a limited perception of something ultimate, the kingdom of heaven, reality. If you prefer to call it reality with a capital R because, quote, kingdom of heaven sounds too religious, go right ahead. If you want to call it the ultimate, call it that. It is going on. It's the only thing going on. And you're either experiencing it truly or through a glass darkly, through ignorance, through misperceptions. Okay, let's go on to the next question.
The next question is from Thomas. Thomas says, "Hi Raj, Paul, Susan, Chris, Judy, and everyone in Cyberland. My question is, what do I need to know right now to best help me undo the illusions I am holding on to? All my love, Thomas."
Well, again, look the illusion squarely in the face. Because right there is a pearl. Right there is a gem. Right there is a threshold, you could say, which, if you will be willing to cross over it, will uncover to you the bit of the kingdom of heaven or reality that is really there. Right where it seems reality is absent, right there reality is. So look where there seems to be chaos. Look where there seems to be less than the best. Look squarely there without becoming preoccupied by either the appearance or your conditioning about the appearances, with a desire to see what God is being right there. The desire to see the real that is there, that is twisted and distorted in your perception so that you aren't seeing it for what it is. Do not look at the illusion and examine it for all of its illusory characteristics. Don't look at it to be with it. You don't want to be present with the misperception and all of its flaws and all of what makes it unreal or unhealthy. You want to look wherever a misperception is, and for lack of better words, look past the distortion, or allow your attention to be where the distortion is with a disregard for the distortion and a desire to see the truth that is there, that is of God or is of reality with a capital R, that is currently not being seen clearly. You see? Everyone who wants to wake up needs to bring an interest to what they're giving their attention to see what's real right there. And be careful with your language. It's helpful to be able to say you want to see the reality that's behind the illusion, but to say behind gives a three-dimensional image as though there is something actual sitting in front of what's real, and it isn't behind. It's right there where the misperception is being experienced. What you are misperceiving is something real. The very thing right there there is reality right there. So you need to bring your interest in seeing what's real there in spite of the misperception you're having of it at the moment. If you're not careful, you can begin to think that spiritual reality is behind all of this. You see what I'm saying? As though this is something in its own right, standing in front of reality. Now, the tree, the pine needles, the leaves, the bark, whatever you're looking at, that itself is life with a capital L, itself. Seen clearly or unclearly, and that's all. So, let some enthusiastic curiosity come into play to look right at a thing, whether it's beautiful or whether it's ugly, whether it's a close approximation of reality or a very distorted perception of reality. Look right there, because in order for you to have a distorted experience of something, there has to be something there that you're having a distorted experience of. And the something that is there has a capital S. It is real. It is God presencing himself. It's mind being the movement of creation. Have fun with this. Okay.
Hello, Raj. Effie here. My hair is falling out. Is this just temporary? Simba, our cat, has been very vocal for 2 years. Is he okay? Love you to bits, Effie.
I love you, Effie. Yes, your hair really is falling out and it's never coming back. Permanently, forever gone. Every hair on your head is numbered. Everything about you is still intact. Everything that God has expressed of himself in the idea of himself that, for lack of better words, he has projected by being conscious of it, is present with you, unchanged right now. You had better embrace the word regeneration. Now, it won't be regeneration of hair, regeneration of matter. It will be the regeneration of your perception, so that your perceptions, all of which are distorted, or we wouldn't use the word perception, become replaced by the knowing, the conscious, direct experience of what is real, which I call knowing with a capital K. It will be the regeneration of your mind that will cause what could never cease to be, to once again be visible to you. Now, is gray hair your permanent color? No. And is droopy flesh underneath that gray hair, called your face, permanently yours? No. Beauty of form, outline and color, texture, all of it is eternally yours in its perfection. See, the regeneration of your mind brings about the redemption of your perception, where perception yields to the direct knowledge, the knowing of the Christ that you are right now. I'll tell you something. Simba is a perfect embodiment of a Siamese cat. Her noisiness is not an indication of a problem, even though it might be irritating to you. So, anything that has fallen or fallen out, you can expect to have show up again as not fallen and as not having fallen out. Everyone is trained to expect, well, what can you expect? You're getting up in years, and that gets taught to you. Tell your friends to shut up when they want to talk to you about being elderly or growing older. Tell them you don't embrace that, and you don't want to hear them thinking about you that way. Tell them to stop thinking about you that way so they won't have to think about themselves that way, because whatever they lay on you, they're teaching themselves. The gift they give, they get to keep too. Tell them to find a new way to think and become part of a new brigade of light workers. Yeah, whatever words you might want to use. It's time for there to be a change of mind. At least tell them that if they want to think that, don't let you know about the fact that they're thinking that. At least that will give them pause and give them an opportunity to rethink how they're using their minds. You know, in the musical piece, The Messiah, it quotes, all we like sheep. Figure out who your shepherd is before all you like sheep follow. Because everyone is following the shepherd of death. All of you are following the shepherd of just a moment. Evolution, Darwinian theories. All of you are following the shepherd of birth and death, good and bad, truth and evil, truth and error, good and evil, polarization, beginning and end. This side of the box and that side of the box, when there ain't no box. Start following a shepherd who tells you there ain't no box. Oh, but everybody says, that thinking like this is irrational and crazy and ungrounded. Yes. Oh, we like sheep. Who's your shepherd going to be and who are you going to follow? So what if everyone says that? Your word is a law for you, not their word. Unless you make their word your word. And then all we like sheep. Mm-hmm. There's Effie. She's off with the flock. Mm-hmm. That's really not your nature, but you're getting sucked in. The invitation is there. Here's a place to use your feistiness. To dare to be radical enough to follow a different shepherd. One who says to you, look right there on your head where you see skin that you couldn't see before. And don't be sidetracked by the appearance, but want to see the truth.